Hello and welcome. Today, I'm going to do a movie recap regarding a 1995 American crime thriller film entitled 7. Warning. Spoilers ahead. I hope you enjoy the movie recap. The movie started when a veteran and a soon-to-retire detective Lieutenant William Somerset, played by Morgan Freeman, met his partner Detective David Mills, played by Brad Pitt, who is a rookie, short-tempered guy, but idealistic one. They are tasked to hunt a serial killer, who begins to murder people, according to the 7 deadly sins. The first murder happened on a Monday, when the cops found an obese man sitting, and Ben drowned his face in a plate of spaghetti for about 45 minutes. The two detectives came to observe and investigate. Detective Somerset's initial findings was that he was forced to eat until he bursts. During the autopsy, their findings matched and they found out that he had really not burst until the killer did it so. He was hemorrhaging internally, and they saw some bruises and a sign that a gun is pressed hard against his head. In the office, Detective Somerset wanted to be reassigned, for this case will not be his last duty. He only has 6 days left before his retirement, and for him this case will just go on and on. The very next day, which is Tuesday, a live news reported that a criminal defense attorney, Eli Gould, was found murdered. Detective Mills watched the breaking news, and suddenly see a word written with blood on the floor, that says, greed, which is also a deadly sin. Gould was forced to carve a pound of flesh off of his body, and subsequently bled to death. The police captain went to Somerset's room to give something that they find will be useful to solve the case of the obese man. Detective Summeray went to the obese man's house again for another investigation. There, he found a word, gluttony, written on the wall behind the refrigerator, and a note containing a quote from Milton's Paradise Lost. This two cases led Detective Somerset in analyzation that a serial killer is basing his crimes on the 7 deadly sins, with 5 more to go. With this, Somerset is pushed to go to the library for some research, and put those researches on Detective Mills' table. To give Mills and Somerset a chance to get along with each other, Mills' wife invites Somerset over for dinner. While they are eating, an elevated train passes by on the track nearby, making the building and all its contents and inhabitants tremble. The couple mention that's why the realtor was so nervous for them to see the apartment quickly, trying to hide the proximity of the train.
Yeah, alright, laugh it up.
After Tracy goes to bed, Mills and Somerset examine case evidence from the two scenes. They find a picture of Gould's wife, with blood painted around the eyes. Believing that this means she is supposed to spot something about the murder scene that nobody else would. The detectives have a distraught Mrs. Gould look at the pictures in a safe house, and she notices an abstract painting that is upside down. As they continue with attorney's death investigation in his house, they discover a hidden fingerprint at the back of the painting, and immediately call the print lab. It has a message that says, "Help me." The suspect's name is Theodore Allen, or simply known as Victor. He has a long history of serious mental illness. This clue led them to a suspect's apartment. Instead of finding the killer in the said apartment, they were surprised to find the third victim. The victim is strapped to a bed, abnormally thin, and barely alive. They discover that he has been injected with a cocktail of drugs in the course of a whole year. And then they see the word, sloth, written on the wall. They were shocked to know that Victor is still alive, upon coughing so hard. So, they called the ambulance and the forensic for investigation. The doctor stated that he experienced much pain and suffering. Meanwhile, Tracy, played by Gwyneth Paltrow, the wife of Detective Mills, confides with Detective Somerset after forming a friendship with him. She reveals that she is pregnant, but is unhappy with the city's crime cases and feels that it's not safe to raise a child. He advised that she should tell it to Mills only if she plans to keep the child. Everything becomes clear that these cases are not really meant for killing, but by punishing people for their sins, pushing their sins to the extreme. Later that day, using a contact in the FBI, Somerset gets a library list of people who have borrowed books related to the 7 deadly sins. The list leads the detectives to a man named John Doe and went to his apartment. Doe, face hidden, sees them as he comes home, pulls out a gun, and begins shooting. Mills chased him and got injured after falling from a fire escape. Mills really wanted to get in the suspect's apartment, while being stopped by Somerset, for they need a warrant to get in. But he refuses to listen to him, and he kicks the door. They discover that this is indeed the home of the killer. The room contains hundreds of notebooks, and books that shows Doe's psychopathy. They find notebooks of his thoughts, and trophies of the crimes. John Doe calls the apartment, and congratulates the detectives on them finding him, and apologizes for hitting Mills. They also find a photo of a young woman, a prostitute, who they believe may be the next victim. A receipt leads them to a S&M leather shop, where Doe placed an order for a sexual device. The girl is soon found dead in a room, with "lust" written on the door. Also found in the room, is a visibly shaken man, forced by Doe at gunpoint, to use a large strap-on dildo, with a blade attachment, to rape and kill the girl. On the final day, the police found a dead model, whose nose has cut off her face, with "pride" written on the crime scene. She is also given the option to call for help and live disfigured, or commit suicide by sleeping pill. So the victim chose the latter, confirming and representing the sin of pride. The detectives then go back to the precinct, with no raw clues to pursue. Doe unexpectedly showed himself in. He is covered by blood of an unidentified victim. He screamed "detective," which caught the people's attention. They found out that he cuts the skin off the tips of his fingers, that's why they couldn't find one single print on his apartment. He agreed to confess his crimes, only when Detectives Somerset and Mills will accompany him at 6 p.m. today, to a secret location, where the two bodies of the victim of envy and wrath are hidden. If the Toe detectives will not do so, the bodies will not be found, and he will plead insanity in the court. Doe and his lawyer, Mr. Swar, are blackmailing them because of those conditions. The two decided to pursue and finish everything. The three of them head out to the secret location. During the drive, Doe expresses his lack of concern for his crimes, declaring that his victims deserve to die. He professes that he is chosen by a higher power to stop tolerance of sins. Upon arriving, the three of them walk, and Detective Somerset saw a van approaching down to their area. Somerset goes out to meet the van, leaving Mills behind to cover Doe. The delivery man said that he's just there to deliver a package to Detective David Mills. Detective Somerset opened the package, and was in great shock and panic, upon seeing what's in the box. As he races back to Mills and desperately yells for him to throw his gun away, Doe states to Mills that he admires Mills' life, to the point of being envious of his wife, and the love they share. He goes further, saying he visited Mills' home, and that he tried to play husband with Tracy that day, but it didn't work out, and he took a souvenir instead, her pretty head. It was Doe's plan that Mills will kill him, as Doe himself was guilty of envy. Doe continued to say that she begged for her life and the life of her baby inside. Mills was surprised, for he didn't know that she is pregnant.
He didn't know.
The fulfillment of Doe's plan happened, when out of anger Mills shoots Doe repeatedly. Mills clearly shows the sin of wrath. Somerset can only stand by, helpless to do anything. Mills is taken away, and their captains will take care of Mills, knowing the jury will condemn him. Somerset tells his captain that he will be around, implying that he will be staying on the force. The movie ends with Somerset quoting Ernest Hemingway, "The world is a fine place, and worth fighting for." I hope you enjoy another episode of our movie recap. Until next time.